All right, here we go. Week 3 assignment: debunking the myth, how the brain works and our learning styles. All right. For this week, we read 3 articles. I read The Neuroscience for Educators. I read What's the Problem with Learning, and Does Learning Styles Really Matter? Okay, I tie all 3 of these articles into my current practices and what I do with my elementary school math students. I could date back to early undergrad where we looked at Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence, where we had the visual learners, the kinesthetic learners, the auditory learners. And I am reading these articles now, and what they are telling me is that although there are learning styles, we don't really want to get ourselves caught up with labeling ourselves as a specific type of learner, because regardless of the particular learning style, data has shown that no particular learning style deems better results than another. So what we want to do is we want to acknowledge the fact that students have different learning styles, but we don't really want to, stigmatize ourselves as saying we're this learner or we learn this type of way, when in all actuality, we all are able to learn just differently at different times. So maybe a certain subject area might require me to use my auditory skills, like math or geometry or calculus, those type of subjects. You might need to hear a tutorial before you go ahead and actually put it into practical use. So it depends on the person, the individual's need at that particular time. So looking at the neuroscience for educators, how they look at the brain and how the brain works, they offer some solutions in terms of how we could effectively set up our classrooms, in terms of changing the physical classroom environment, which they consider one of the brain rules, exercising during the day. Also mentioned, like in chapter 5, when we talk about our memory, they often talk about, testing often. That was one of the strategies. But all in all, I just really want to focus back onto the exercise and the repeating of the activities. And this goes back to, like I said, Howard Gardner in my undergrad days, when I just focused on setting up workstations. And in today's classroom, my math classroom, we focus on what we call a blended classroom environment. This is where we set up stations that allow the students to practice a certain skill, and it's also known as equity in education at this point. And every student has the opportunity to utilize their different skills at different stations throughout the course of the day, and it's fair and equitable in a sense that we're not restricting students to hear my voice constantly. They have an opportunity to practice, being that they don't have many opportunities to practice the skill that often. And it goes what we call differentiation of instruction as well. It aligns itself to that. And I think it's an effective method because the students are able to get up and move around. It works in timed increments, and they're able to, stretch their legs and have a choice in terms of what they want to complete at that time to practice the skill that they're working on. And it also allows me the opportunity to see smaller groups of students, give them that undivided attention that they need, and send them off, and that kind of works well with me. I kind of like these readings this week, because it really focuses on, developing compassion for the learner and understanding that kids might not necessarily get it, like right when we expect it. So we can't really just harp on them and think that because they're not getting it or we're not providing enough rigor or something. What I think it allows us to do is just have a balance in terms of accepting the differences in our students and pretty much not feeling a sense of guilt as if we're not serving any purpose to our students, because we understand how the brain works and everybody is working differently, and we are allowing each student an opportunity to tap into their multi senses during a lesson, which I feel is engaging rather than sitting there and just traditionally learning based on theory of the past. So I guess each state is different, each curriculum is different, each pedagogy is different, but like I said, I kind of think, debunking the myths of, I'm an auditory learner, so I could only listen to things visually. No, we don't want to stigmatize ourselves and say that. We want to explore other options. But if there is a challenging subject out there, we want to at least have that option available for our students to, say, okay, listen, I don't want to struggle with this right now. Maybe let me just listen to an audio, or let me, use some manipulatives to make sense of it in my head and then arrange it, or fix it later on. Another thing is kind of confrontational, where most staff members feel like, I don't want to have too much differentiation and too much, groups and stuff going on, because when we taking high stakes tests, that level of differentiation is not on the test.